Hey everybody, my name is Simone Taylor and I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas. So today we're going to be talking about how to start the therapy process. And y'all, this is something that I'm familiar with myself because I believe in therapy. I'm an advocate for it, and I, believe it or not, go to see a therapist for myself. So if you're not familiar with this channel, we talk about all things therapy from a therapist perspective. I'm going to be teaching y'all about everything that's related to therapy, as well as sharing a lot of my personal experiences with being a therapist. Okay, so welcome and let's get started. So the topic for today, how to start the therapy process. So in my experience, and I know I'm currently in the United States, and I'm in a Texas area, so my experience is maybe a little bit different on how to start the process than say if you lived in like North Dakota or somewhere like that. But I can speak on just how in 2024 how you can start the process on therapy, finding the right therapist for yourself, and where to begin. So where to begin, a great spot to begin is online. So if you have access to an online directory or somewhere like Google search or just online search engines, you can start right there in the palm of your hand. If you have access to a phone, you can literally try to find a therapist as fast as possible or as soon as possible. So a lot of times you can search online therapy directories. You can literally just put that in the search engine, therapist near me, or you can put therapist directory, and it'll come up with a couple options for you that should be in your state or local area. All right, next option would be like word of mouth. So a lot of times, if you know a friend that knows a friend, like someone, 9 times out of 10, they've even heard of a therapist themselves, or they've gone to one, and they can point you in a direction of how to find a therapist, especially in your local area. So I would say word of mouth is definitely a helpful way, especially if you're a social person and you know people. All right, another way is kind of calling like the helplines or any of those kind of local mental health numbers that's probably in your area. They usually have some great resources on therapists that are recommended, or at least like programs that have therapists. And guess what? If you know therapists, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna know other therapists because they're all in like the same network in the same field. And so those kind of numbers, those mental health helplines or mental health phone numbers in your local area should be able to point you in the right direction. So far we've talked about ways that you can just begin to find a therapist. So the 3 top ways in my experience is you can do online directory searches that can pull up either a therapist directory or just therapists near you in your local area. You also can do word of mouth. So if you know people that know people, they can point you in the right direction on how to find a therapist. And then you also can just call your local, state, or national helplines, and they should have resources for either programs that have therapists that's in your local area, or they should have resources where there's therapists nearby you that they recommend. Okay, so those are the top ways. Now let's see how to decide whether you want to do in-person therapy or virtual therapy, and let's talk about the differences between those two. Okay, so finding a therapist, believe it or not, is half the battle, but it is a process, right? So just really take your time. It's okay if you got to look through more than one therapist. Literally, it's kind of like finding the right profession. Let's say like a doctor, right? Like if you're trying to go to a physician or a pediatrician, whatever it is, if you're trying to find a great medical doctor, you're probably going to take a little bit, or you're going to go with what's recommended, right? So it's similar process when it comes to finding a mental health therapist, a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist. Like, we're going to go over those terms in a separate video, so I got y'all on that. But it's pretty similar in the mental health field. Like, you want to take your time, you want to really find out like what therapist, what professional is going to be best for you and your needs. Okay, so with that being said, virtual or in person, now that you found your therapist, Which one do you want to do? Which one do you feel most comfortable doing? So in person, that's kind of like the classic. Usually you see that version a lot, especially if you're watching TV shows or movies that have therapy references in them. You're going to see someone come into someone's office, sit on their couch, and just start talking, right? Start connecting, start telling the therapist, counselor about their problems. And that's pretty much the traditional sense of therapy. So in person is definitely an option if you want to be in the room with your therapist and you want to have that one-on-one time. It's going to be more of an intimate setting. It's just y'all two, and y'all are able to really get to know one another and talk through everything that's going on in your world, in your reality. So that is option number one. But then nowadays, especially in 2024, you have option number two, which is becoming increasingly popular. So you have virtual therapy. So with virtual therapy, you have the option of just staying in your home or your comfortable place and still finding that connection with a professional. So you can either choose to do audio, where you're just speaking on the phone or speaking on the laptop, computer, whatever you have, and then being able to talk through what's going on in your world or reality that way. Or you can do virtual, where you're on the screen, you're on some type of platform or website, and you're having your camera on, and your therapist also has their camera on, and y'all are able to visually see each other without being in the same place, the same setting. But you're still having a professional therapy session. So it's still the same rules that would apply if you're in person, meeting them at their office or location. But it's just going to be, you're going to be in the comfort of your own setting, and they're going to be in the comfort of their own setting, and y'all are going to communicate in that way. So it is a little bit different, but it should be similar structure. So I know we've hit on some pretty hot topics so far in this video. We've kind of discussed the three main ways on how to start the therapy process. And we've also discussed, once you've found a therapist, what process do you want to go by doing therapy, whether it's in person or virtual. Okay, so I kind of think I want to make this video a part 2, and then this being part 1, because there's so much more that I can get into with the details and the specific nuances on how the therapy process can begin and what you have to keep in mind before you even start your first session. So I know this is a lot of information, but I hope it's helpful for you. And if you have any questions or comments, right? So if you have any specifics on what you personally experienced in your own process of finding your therapist, you can definitely comment that down below. I welcome the feedback, and I'm going to go ahead and make this a part 2 series, so that way we can keep the helpful information coming for those of y'all that really want to know about the therapy process. All right, y'all, so stay tuned for more information, more helpful information all about therapy coming soon. And y'all enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see y'all later. Bye.